The rain fell in relentless sheets against the cracked windshield of the old Volvo as Marcus Hale guided it down the winding coastal road toward Blackthorn Bay. It was past midnight, and the only light came from his dimming headlights and the occasional flicker of a distant lighthouse. He had driven straight from the city after the phone call, that single, cryptic message from his sister Lena that had ended with a scream cut short. "Marcus, it's watching. The house. Don't come. Please." Then nothing but static and the dial tone that still echoed in his skull like a bad dream he couldn't shake. Blackthorn Bay wasn't on any modern map anymore. The town had been half abandoned since the mill closed in the 90s, its residents scattered like leaves in a storm. Marcus had visited once as a child, back when their grandmother still lived in the crumbling Victorian at the end of Wharf Lane. He remembered the house as a place of creaking floors and salt-stained windows, but mostly he remembered the stories Grandma told by the fire. Tales of sailors who vanished at sea and came back wrong, whispering secrets no living man should hear. The Volvo's engine sputtered as he turned onto the overgrown lane. Branches scraped the sides like fingernails on glass. The house loomed ahead, its silhouette jagged against the black sky, porch light somehow still burning despite the years. Lena's car, a battered blue hatchback, was parked crookedly in the drive, door ajar. Rain poured into the open interior. Marcus killed the engine and sat for a long moment, heart hammering against his ribs. The silence outside was too perfect, as if the rain itself had been ordered to hush. He grabbed the flashlight from the glove box, its beam weak and yellow. Stepping out, the cold hit him like a slap. Water soaked through his sneakers instantly. He approached the hatchback first. Lena's purse lay on the passenger seat, phone screen shattered but still glowing faintly with missed calls. His own number repeated 20 times. A half-empty pack of cigarettes and a crumpled note rested beside it. He unfolded the note with trembling fingers. "If you read this, run. It knows your name now. L." Marcus stuffed it in his pocket and turned toward the house. The front door stood open a crack, swinging gently in the wind as if inviting him in. He pushed it wider, the hinges groaning like an old man waking from a nightmare. Inside, the foyer smelled of mildew and something sharper, copper and decay. The flashlight swept across faded wallpaper peeling in long strips, revealing dark patches that looked too much like handprints. "Lena," his voice cracked, swallowed by the emptiness. No answer. He moved deeper, floorboards protesting under each step. The living room was exactly as he remembered. Heavy oak furniture draped in dust sheets, a grandfather clock frozen at 3:17. But the sheets were disturbed now, pulled back in places as if someone had been searching frantically. On the mantel, Lena's silver locket lay open. Inside was a photo of the two of them as kids, smiling on this very porch. The glass was cracked down the middle, splitting their faces apart. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Marcus froze, flashlight jerking toward the staircase. "Lena, if that's you, say something. Please." Nothing. Just the rain drumming on the roof like impatient fingers. He climbed the stairs slowly, each step a deliberate choice. The second floor hallway stretched into darkness, doors lining both sides like teeth in a mouth. Grandma's old room was first. He nudged it open. The bed was made, but the closet door hung wide. Clothes, Lena's clothes, were scattered across the floor, as if she'd torn through them in panic. Marcus knelt, picking up a torn sweater. Blood stained the sleeve, still tacky. His stomach lurched. He backed out, pulse roaring in his ears. The next room had been his as a boy. Inside, the walls were covered in fresh writing, scratched deep into the plaster with what looked like fingernails. Over and over in jagged letters, "Your turn, your turn, your turn." The words spiraled across the ceiling too, converging on a single point above the bed where a dark stain had seeped through. Marcus's flashlight trembled on it. The stain was fresh, dripping slowly onto the mattress with a soft plop, plop, plop. He stumbled backward, slamming the door. That's when the phone in his pocket vibrated. Not a call, an unknown number. He answered before he could think. Marcus. The voice was Lena's, but wrong. Hollow, like it came from the bottom of a well. You came. Good. It's been waiting. Lena? Where are you? What the hell is this? A soft laugh, wet and gurgling. I tried to warn you. The caller. It doesn't let go. Takes turns. Grandma knew. She heard it first back in '78. Then Mom. Now me. Now you. The line crackled. In the background, Marcus heard breathing. Not his sister's, but something heavier, rhythmic, like lungs filled with seawater. What is it? He whispered. It's the house, the voice said. No, it's under the house, in the bay. Calls when the tide is right. It called Grandma on the rotary phone in the parlor. She answered. Then it called Mom on her cell the night she drove off the cliff. I answered last week. And now, your phone. It knows the numbers. It knows everything. Marcus's grip tightened until the plastic creaked. This isn't funny, Lena. If this is some sick joke. The voice cut him off with a scream that tore through the speaker, raw and endless. Then silence. The call dropped. He stood there in the hallway, phone dead in his hand, flashlight beam shaking across the walls. The writing was still there, your turn, but now it seemed to pulse, letters shifting like they were breathing. He ran to the end of the hall, toward the attic stairs. The pull-down ladder was already lowered, swaying slightly. He climbed, each rung slick with something he refused to identify. The attic was a cavern of forgotten things. Trunks, broken furniture, stacks of yellowed newspapers. Rain hammered the roof so hard it sounded like footsteps overhead. In the center of the room stood an old rotary phone on a small table, cord snaking into the floorboards. It hadn't been there when he was a child. The dial glowed faintly, numbers etched in faded gold. It began to ring. Marcus stared, breath caught in his throat. The sound was wrong. Distant, underwater, as if the phone were submerged. He took one step closer. 2. The ringing grew louder, insistent. On the fourth ring, he snatched the receiver. Hello. Static. Then a voice, not Lena's this time. Deeper, ancient, like gravel dragged across barnacles. Marcus Hale. You answered. Who is this? A chuckle that bubbled like drowning. The one who called your grandmother at 3:17 a.m. on the night the mill burned. The one who told your mother to drive faster, faster, right off the edge. The one who whispered to your sister to open every door. Now it's your turn to listen. Marcus's legs gave out. He sank to the dusty floor, receiver pressed to his ear like a lifeline. What do you want? Your voice, your fear, your turn in the line. The bay is hungry. It took the sailors first, pulled them down with ropes of kelp and promises. Then the town, then your family. One call at a time. Answer again tomorrow at 3:17 and it ends. Refuse. And it begins with everyone you love left alive. The line went dead. Marcus dropped the receiver. It swung on its cord, clacking against the table like a pendulum counting down. He scrambled downstairs, nearly falling, and burst into the rain. The Volvo waited, but when he yanked the door open, the interior light revealed something new. Lena's locket dangling from the rearview mirror. It hadn't been there before. Inside, the photo had changed. Now it showed Marcus alone, smiling, with Lena's face scratched out. He drove. Tires spun on gravel, fishtailing onto the main road. The rain eased as he left Blackthorn Bay behind, but the clock on the dash glowed 3:10. 7 minutes. His phone sat silent in the cup holder. He gripped the wheel until his knuckles whitened, mind racing through every explanation. Prank, hallucination, gas leak in the old house. Anything but the truth clawing at the edges of his sanity. By the time he reached the highway, the rain had stopped entirely. Stars pierced the sky like accusatory eyes. Marcus pulled into a rest stop, engine idling, and stared at his phone. The screen was blank. No missed calls. No evidence of the nightmare except the note in his pocket and the locket now clutched in his fist. He opened it again. The photo had changed once more. Lena's face was back, but her eyes were gone, replaced by black hollows. And beside her stood a figure, tall, dripping, featureless except for a mouth too wide, smiling. He hurled the locket out the window, clattered into the darkness. Sleep came in fragments at a cheap motel 20 miles away. He bolted the door, wedged a chair under the knob, and lay fully clothed on the bed with the lights blazing. Dreams came anyway. In them, he was back in the attic, receiver to his ear, but the voice spoke in his own words from years ago. Childhood secrets, lies he'd told his mother, the night he'd ignored Lena's text about their mom's funeral because he was too drunk to care. The voice repeated them all, twisting them into accusations. You answered then too, Marcus. Every time life called, you picked up. He woke at 3:12 a.m. to the motel phone ringing on the nightstand. An old beige rotary model he hadn't noticed before. Shouldn't have been there. The room had been modern when he checked in. The ringing drilled into his skull. He didn't answer. He unplugged the cord from the wall. Silence returned, but the digital clock flipped to 3:17. His cell phone lit up on the dresser. Unknown number. The screen showed a live feed. Not a call. A video. It was Lena, standing in the Blackthorn house attic, holding the rotary phone. Her face was pale, eyes wide with terror. Behind her, something moved in the shadows, long, sinuous, glistening like wet rope. It wrapped around her waist. She screamed his name once before the feed cut to black. Marcus screamed too, but no sound came out. His throat had closed. He grabbed the cell, thumb hovering over the answer button. The time ticked to 3:18. The call ended itself. He packed in under 2 minutes and fled the motel. Dawn was breaking gray and cold as he drove north, away from the coast, toward the city he'd left behind. But every radio station he tried carried the same static-laced whisper beneath the music. His own voice, reciting the note Lena had left. If you read this, run. It knows your name now. By noon he was in the city, apartment door triple-locked, curtains drawn. He called Lena's phone 100 times. Voicemail always. This is Lena. I can't come to the phone right now because it won't let me. The message had changed. He deleted it, but it reappeared. Work emails piled up unanswered. His boss texted, "Where are you? Meeting at 2. Marcus typed replies and deleted them. Instead, he researched. Blackthorn Bay. The mill fire of 1978, 23 workers lost, bodies never recovered. His grandmother's obituary, passed peacefully in her sleep. No mention of the rotary phone found clutched in her hand. His mother's car accident, ruled suicide, note left on the dash reading only it called again. Lena had been investigating. Her laptop, left behind in the house, had browser history he reconstructed from memory. Articles on phantom phone calls, electronic voice phenomena, coastal disappearances. One link led to an old forum post from 2009. The silent caller of Blackthorn. Don't answer after dark. It starts with family. It ends with you. Marcus spent the afternoon pacing, coffee growing cold. At 6 p.m. his landline rang. He hadn't had a landline in years. The apartment came with one disconnected. Yet it rang now, shrill and demanding. He stared at the beige receiver on the kitchen counter. The cord trailed into the wall, but he knew if he traced it, it would lead nowhere logical. He answered, "Marcus." Lena's voice again, but weaker, fading. "You didn't come back." "Good." But it followed. It always follows the line. "Lena, tell me how to stop it." "You can't." "Grandma tried burning the house. Mom tried running. I tried not answering. It just waits. It has all the time in the sea. Tomorrow at 3:17. Your apartment phone, or your cell, or the payphone on the corner. Chooses. If you answer, it takes the next in line. If you don't, a wet cough. It takes you anyway, slowly. The call ended with a sound like waves crashing inside a skull. Marcus smashed the landline with a hammer until plastic shards littered the floor. He unplugged every device, powered down his laptop, even removed the battery from his cell. Night fell. He sat in the dark with a kitchen knife, listening. At 3:10, the building's fire alarm began to blare. Not the usual piercing tone, but a rhythmic ringing, like a phone. Tenants shouted in the halls. Marcus stayed put. At exactly 3:17, his cell phone, battery dead, screen black, lit up from the table. The screen showed no charge icon, just the call interface. Unknown number. The ringing vibrated through the wood, up his arm when he touched it. He didn't answer. He wrapped the phone in a towel and locked it in the freezer. The ringing continued, muffled but relentless, for exactly 17 minutes. Then silence. Morning brought no relief. Neighbors complained about the weird alarm. At 3 a.m. Marcus called in sick, voice hoarse. He drove to a different motel on the opposite side of the city. Paid cash. No phones in the room this time, he checked. Slept with the knife under the pillow. The pattern repeated for 6 nights. Each time, the phone found him. Motel landlines. A stranger's cell left on a bus seat. Once, his own reflection in a store window seemed to mouth the ringing tone. Each 3:17, the voice grew closer, more intimate. It recited his childhood address, his first girlfriend's name, the lie he'd told the police after his mother's crash. I don't know why she drove off the cliff. It knew things no one living could know. On the 7th night, Marcus broke. He sat in his darkened apartment at 3:16, every light off, every device destroyed or disconnected. The only thing left was an old flip phone he'd bought that afternoon from a pawn shop. Untraceable. No data. It rested on the coffee table like a loaded gun. 3:17. It rang. He stared at the tiny screen. Unknown. The voice inside his head whispered the same words Lena had used. "It knows your name now." Marcus picked up. The voice was his own this time. Calm, reasonable, the way he sounded in meetings. "Hello, Marcus. You've been running the line long enough. Time to pass it on." "What do you mean?" A chuckle, warm and terrible. "Your sister held it for 8 days. Your mother for 12. Grandma lasted a month. You're at day 7. Impressive. But the Bay is patient. Answer one more time tomorrow and it moves to your niece, little Sophie in Seattle. She's 6. She has a pink phone with stickers. Cute." Marcus's blood turned to ice. Sophie. He hadn't spoken to his brother's family in years. But the thing knew. Of course it did. Or, the voice continued, silky, "You can keep it. Answer every night. Talk to me. Tell me your secrets. Feed me your fear. The line stays with you forever. No one else pays." The offer hung in the static. Marcus closed his eyes. He saw Lena's face in the attic video, the thing behind her uncoiling like tentacles. He saw his mother's car crumpled at the bottom of the cliff. He saw Grandma's hand frozen around the rotary dial. "I'll keep it," he whispered. "Good boy," the voice purred. "Tomorrow then, same time. And Marcus, leave the line open when you sleep. I like to listen." The call ended. Marcus sat until dawn, flip phone clutched in both hands like a rosary. He canceled his lease that morning, sold what little he owned, and drove west again. Not to Blackthorn Bay, but to a cabin deep in the mountains he'd rented under a false name. No landlines, no cell service, just a satellite phone he kept powered off except for 1 hour each night. The calls still came. At 3:17 Mountain Time, the satellite would ring no matter where he hid it. He answered every time. He talked. He confessed everything. The petty thefts, the affairs, the night he'd stood by while Lena begged him to come home after Mom died. The voice listened, hungry, growing stronger. Sometimes it sounded like Lena now, sometimes like his mother, sometimes like Sophie's laughter twisted into something wet and wrong. Months passed. Marcus's beard grew long, eyes sunken. He stopped shaving, stopped eating much. The cabin filled with notebooks where he wrote down every conversation, every new secret the voice revealed about people he'd never met. Secrets that later proved true when he risked a library trip and checked newspapers. A man in Chicago whose wife left after a phantom call. A woman in Miami who jumped from her balcony after answering at 3:17. The line was spreading, but Marcus was its anchor now. One winter night, snow piling against the windows, the voice offered a new deal. "Bring someone here," it said, using Lena's voice again. "Anyone, a hitchhiker, a lost hiker, let them answer once. The line shifts, you go free. I get fresh blood." Marcus stared at the satellite phone, its green glow the only light. He thought of Sophie's pink phone with stickers. He thought of the empty years stretching ahead, answering alone until his heart gave out. "No," he said. The voice sighed, disappointed but not surprised. Then it continues. "Forever, Marcus, until the bay dries up and the stars go dark." He hung up first that night, an act of tiny rebellion. But the next night it rang again and he answered. He always answered. Years later, though time blurred in the cabin, Marcus sat on the porch at dusk, satellite phone in his lap. He was 63 now, hair white, hands gnarled. The voice had grown soft, almost companionable. It told him stories of the sailors it had claimed first, of the mill workers whose screams still echoed in the kelp. It told him Lena had lasted longest of the family until him. One evening in late autumn, the phone rang early, 2:59. Marcus frowned. That had never happened. He answered. "Uncle Marcus?" A child's voice, small and frightened. "Sophie." She was 12 now. "Mom said not to call strangers, but this number showed up on my phone. Said you needed help. That you're sick." Marcus's heart stopped. The line had moved. Somehow, while he'd held it for decades, it had branched. Or perhaps the voice had lied all along. "Sophie, listen to me very carefully. Hang up. Now, block the number. Tell your parents to throw away every phone in the house. Run." A click. The line went dead. He redialed frantically. No signal. The satellite showed full bars, but the call wouldn't connect. He screamed into the empty mountains until his voice gave out. That night at 3:17 the phone rang once more. The voice was Sophie's now, but older, hollowed out, the way Lena's had been at the end. "Uncle Marcus, it's watching. The house? Don't come. Please." Then the scream. Marcus dropped the phone. It shattered on the porch boards, but the ringing continued from inside the shards, from the wind, from the dark between the stars. He stumbled into the cabin, grabbed the old hunting rifle he'd kept for bears that never came, and pressed the barrel under his chin. The voice whispered from everywhere at once. Your turn is over, but the line never ends. Someone always answers. The gunshot echoed across the mountains. In Blackthorn Bay, the Victorian house on Wharf Lane stood empty again. The porch light still burned. The rotary phone in the attic waited, dial faintly glowing. Down in the bay, something shifted beneath the waves, long, patient, listening for the next ring. Far away in Seattle, a 12-year-old girl stared at her pink phone with stickers. An unknown number flashed across the screen. The time on her bedside clock read 3:16. She reached for it. The line continued.